The sky over Varel was always bright, filled with soft, glowing clouds that shimmered in silver and blue. The towers of the capital city reached high into the sky, their walls smooth like mirrors. Flying transports moved quietly between the towers. The people of Varel were proud of their clean streets, advanced schools, and perfect order. But behind that beauty, not everything was fair. Riva sat on the cold bench outside the school building. She held her lunch tray close to her chest and kept her eyes down. Her food was the same as the others, slices of fruit, soft grain bread, and a warm soup, but she never got to eat with the other students. The rule was not written anywhere. Still, everyone followed it. Riva was different. Her skin was soft purple and her hair was dark and thick like humans. She was a mix, born of a human father and a Virilan mother. That made her unwanted in the eyes of both sides. She had no friends. No one spoke to her unless it was to mock or insult. Even teachers acted like she wasn't there. Every day, Riva waited until the bell rang for lunch. While the other students rushed into the large dining hall with its smooth silver tables and glowing lights, Riva quietly walked outside to the corner of the building where no one could see her. There was a small bench next to a recycling unit. That was her usual place. She sat there now, trying not to notice the laughter coming from the windows. Some of the students peeked outside and pointed at her. Riva heard her name followed by the word dirty more than once. She took a deep breath and kept eating slowly. Inside the dining hall, a new student looked around. His name was Tom. He had arrived from Earth just 2 days ago. He was tall, with short brown hair and calm green eyes. He had grown up in a mining colony where different species worked together to survive. He had seen humans, reptilians, feathered ones, and many others share meals, carry heavy tools, and fix machines side by side. It never mattered where someone came from, only that they helped each other. Now, here in this clean and perfect school, he saw something strange. He had noticed the girl with the purple skin sitting alone outside since his first day. No one told him why, and no one sat near her. Today he decided to ask. Tom turned to the boy next to him. "Why does that girl eat outside?" he asked. The boy looked annoyed. "That's Riva. She's a mix. Her blood's not pure." Tom frowned. "So?" The boy laughed. "So, she's not one of us. She should be lucky she's even allowed here." Tom didn't say anything. He looked out the window at Riva. She was eating slowly, head low, hands shaking just a little. Her food looked untouched. The wind moved her hair across her face and she didn't bother brushing it away. Something felt wrong, deeply wrong, that night. Tom sat in his room at his host family's home. He searched the school rules. There was nothing about where students had to sit. He searched Virilan law. There was no rule about mixed-blood students being forced to eat outside. Everything was based on tradition. Just old beliefs passed from one generation to the next. He read stories of others like Riva. Some were forced to clean floors as punishment for being born. Some dropped out because they could no longer take the shame. Few ever finished school. None had ever stood up. Tom closed the screen. He stared at the wall for a long time. The next morning, he walked into school as usual. Classes passed slowly. He saw Riva a few times in the hallway. She always looked down and moved quickly. She had no books, no locker, just a small pack she kept with her all day. When the lunch bell rang, Tom picked up his tray. He followed the stream of students into the large dining hall. The room was full of color and light. Everyone sat in groups, laughing, sharing stories, and passing food. But Tom didn't sit. He turned around and walked out of the hall. He found her just as she sat down outside, same bench, same spot. The wind was soft today. Riva looked up, confused as he came near. No one had ever come outside with her before. Tom sat down next to her without a word. Riva stared at him. "You don't have to sit here," she said quietly. "I know," he replied. "But people will talk," she added, looking around. "Let them," Tom said. He took a bite of his bread and smiled at her. Riva said nothing at first. Then, after a long pause, she slowly pushed a piece of fruit toward him. He took it without hesitation. Inside the dining hall, dozens of eyes stared out the window. The room fell silent. A teacher spotted them from the far side. His face turned red as he marched toward the door. Tom looked at Riva. "You eat here every day?" She nodded. "Always." "That changes today," he said. The door opened. The teacher stepped outside, face tight with anger. "You," he said, to Tom. "Come inside, now." Tom didn't move. "Why?" he asked. "You're breaking order," the teacher snapped. Tom looked at him calmly. "Then send the whole class out too. This is where real people eat." Riva's eyes widened. The teacher looked stunned. Then, without a word, he turned and walked back inside. The wind moved again. But this time, it felt different. It felt like something new had begun. The school halls were buzzing with whispers. News spread fast in Varel High Academy, especially when something unusual happened. And today was not usual at all. A human boy had chosen to sit beside the half-blood girl outside, in plain sight. With no fear, with no shame, Tom walked into the classroom like nothing had happened. His face was calm. He carried his books, took his seat, and looked ahead. But the students around him kept staring. Some were confused, others were angry. A few looked nervous, as if something had broken, and they weren't sure if it could be fixed. Riva entered the class 2 minutes later. Her head was still low, but something had changed. Her steps were slower, more thoughtful. For the first time, she was not completely alone. The teacher, Mr. Glenn, entered the room and glanced quickly at both of them. His lips pressed together, but he said nothing. The lesson began. Tom didn't talk much during class. He just listened, but he was thinking deeply. At break time, a student named Dren, one of the louder boys in class, blocked Tom's path near the lockers. "You really think that makes you a hero?" Dren said with a smirk. "Sitting with her?" Tom looked at him. "I don't care about being a hero. I care about doing what's right." Dren laughed. "Right? Her kind doesn't belong here. We're being nice, just letting her attend. You don't understand our ways," Tom replied. "I understand that kindness doesn't need rules, and cruelty doesn't need permission." Dren's smile faded. Tom stepped past him. Later that evening, Tom sat at the desk in his host family's apartment. The room was small but comfortable. He opened his tablet and searched again. This time he looked for stories, personal stories. He read message boards and blogs written by other half-bloods who had lived on Varel. Most of them were sad. One girl wrote about hiding her skin under makeup. Another boy spoke of being told to use the servant doors, even when he was a guest. Many had left Varel after school, some left in secret. Some never made it far. Tom leaned back and stared at the ceiling. He thought of his parents back on the mining colony. They always taught him to treat people by their actions, not their birth. They shared everything with their alien neighbors, even during food shortages. His mother once said, "Respect is not a gift, it is a choice." The next day at school, nothing had changed, and yet everything had. Tom walked past groups of students who now whispered louder. Some pointed, others avoided him. Teachers gave him short looks, then turned away quickly. He didn't care. When the lunch bell rang, Tom stood up like usual. He picked up his tray and walked straight out of the dining hall. He found Riva already, sitting on the bench outside. Her hands were folded on her lap. She looked up as he approached. "You came again," she said, a little surprised. "Yes," Tom said, sitting beside her. They ate quietly for a few minutes. Then Riva asked, "Why are you doing this?" Tom looked at the clouds above and thought, for a moment. Because no one else did. Riva didn't speak for a while. Then she said softly, "I thought I would always be alone." "You're not now," he said. Inside the dining hall, more students gathered near the windows. Teachers tried to keep them from staring, but they failed. The room was full of quiet tension. That evening, someone posted a picture online. It showed Tom sitting beside Riva outside, sharing food and smiling. The image spread fast. Comments exploded. Some praised him, others were furious. Tom's host family received a call from the school. The headmistress asked them to stop Tom from sitting with Riva. They refused. They said, "We trust our son." The next day, more surprises followed. Two younger students, twin boys from another class, sat near Riva and Tom during lunch. They didn't say much, but they didn't leave either. The day after that, a teacher named Miss Jal, who was new to the academy, walked outside with her tray and sat on the opposite bench. She didn't speak, but her action spoke louder than words. Now the silence had become a wave, a quiet protest, a new beginning, but not everyone was pleased. At the end of the week, Tom was called to the school office. He entered the room and found Headmistress Velra waiting for him. Her sharp eyes studied him from behind her silver glasses. "You have caused great disturbance, Mr. Tom," she said in a cold voice. "I didn't break any rules," Tom replied, calmly. "Rules are not always written," she said. Tom leaned forward. "Then maybe they should be, so people know when something is wrong." Headmistress Velra narrowed her eyes. "You have been warned. Do not challenge what you do not understand." Tom stood up. "Then help me understand. Show me where kindness became a problem." She didn't answer. He left the room without waiting for permission. That night, Tom recorded a short video. His host family helped him post it on the school's public forum. In the video, he said, "I didn't come to Varel to fight. I came to learn, but learning means asking questions. Why is Riva treated differently? What did she do wrong? If eating beside her is wrong, then maybe this school needs to think again." The video was only 2 minutes long, but it reached thousands of students across Varel in one night. The next morning, the academy's walls felt heavier. Every eye was watching Tom, but he walked calmly to class, sat in his seat, and opened his book. And when the lunch bell rang, he stood once more and walked outside, tray in hand. Riva was already waiting. By the third day, the whole school knew Tom's name. His video had traveled far, not just inside the academy, but beyond. Students in other cities and even on nearby colonies were now sharing it. Many agreed with his message. Some were shocked that such treatment was still happening in a place like Varel High Academy. Others denied it, calling the video a trick. But inside the academy, real change had started. That morning, Tom walked through the halls as he always did. Some students moved out of his way. Others stared. A few nodded quietly. He said nothing, and just kept walking. Riva was already sitting outside when he arrived with his tray. Her eyes met his, and she gave a small smile. It was the first time Tom had seen her smile. "You're early," he said. "I didn't want to miss this," Riva replied. "Miss what?" She pointed behind him. Tom turned around and saw 3 students coming out of the main dining hall. 2 boys and 1 girl. Each of them carried their lunch trays. Slowly, they walked across the yard and sat down on the grass near the bench. They didn't speak. They didn't stare. They just sat and began eating quietly. More students followed. Some came alone. Some came in pairs. They brought blankets and extra food. A group from Class B brought a portable table and set it up next to the bench. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean. It was enough. For the first time in years, Riva wasn't alone. Inside the dining hall, the teachers watched with concern. Headmistress. Velra stood by the window with her arms crossed. She turned to the others and said, "This is no longer a small issue. It is just lunch," one teacher said carefully. "No," she said, shaking her head. "This is rebellion." During the afternoon session, the students returned to class. But something was different now. The air felt heavier. The silence in the room was not the same silence as before. It was the kind that comes before a storm. That evening, local news picked up the story. A young reporter from a small channel showed up at the school gate and tried to speak with Riva. She didn't say much, just 3 short sentences. "I was always outside. I didn't think anyone would notice, but someone did." The next morning, the school's internal message board had a new post from the headmistress to all students. All meals must be taken inside the dining hall starting today. Outside eating is now restricted due to security reasons. Violation of this order will lead to punishment. The message was clear. The school had decided to stop the movement. Tom read the message on his screen. Then he turned to Riva. "Do you want to go inside?" he asked. She thought for a moment. Then she shook her head. "No, I've eaten outside for years. I'm not stopping now just because others joined me." Tom nodded. "Then I'm with you." At lunch, they walked outside again. This time, only a few followed. Most students were afraid. The warning was serious. Tom and Riva sat down together. She brought a cloth and spread it on the bench. They shared some fruit. She had cooked a small rice dish that morning and offered it to Tom. He took a bite. "It's good," he said. She smiled again, a little more this time. Suddenly, a tall figure walked up to them. It was Mr. Glenn, the classroom teacher. "You two need to come inside," he said. Tom looked up. "We're eating peacefully. We're not breaking anything." "You saw the message," Mr. Glenn said. "Orders are orders." "Are we really a school if we follow rules that are unfair?" Tom asked. Mr. Glenn paused. His face showed no emotion, but his hands were tense. He didn't reply. He simply turned and walked back to the building. The next day, something unexpected happened. Miss Jal, the quiet new teacher who had once sat across from them, walked out of the dining hall with her own tray. She joined Tom and Riva again, this time sitting at their table like it was nothing strange. Then 2 more students came, then 4. By the end of the week, over 20 students were sitting outside together. The lunch area had turned into a real gathering spot. Some even brought music players and soft mats to sit on. A boy named Loro, whose younger sister was also half-human, joined the group and shared his story. "My sister cried every day for a year," he said. "But she didn't want me to speak up. She thought it would only make things worse." He looked at Tom. "You showed her that silence doesn't protect. It just keeps the pain inside." Riva listened to each word with wide eyes. She had no idea how many others had felt like her. She wasn't alone anymore. She was part of something. That evening, a news channel from Earth showed clips of the growing movement on Varel. They called it the Lunch Table Rebellion, the E. Names spread fast. More students from other schools began holding outdoor lunches in support. Some wrote signs. Others shared their stories. It had become more than just food. It had become a message, but not everyone supported it. A group of powerful families sent letters to the school board demanding action. One council member even said on record, "These humans bring their strange values and push them on our children." In response, Tom made a second video. This time he spoke clearly and calmly. "I didn't come here to push anything. I came here to learn." But learning means asking why some people are forced to sit alone. If kindness is a strange value, then maybe being strange is a good thing. The video ended with him sitting beside Riva, both of them smiling. Back at school, the headmistress called for a special meeting. "We have to stop this," she said, but more teachers disagreed this time. One stood up and said, "Maybe we should have stopped the unfairness years ago. Outside, under the glowing sky, Riva sat at the same bench. This time she looked around and saw a full circle of students sharing stories, passing food and laughing. And deep inside her heart, for the first time she felt like she truly belonged. By the start of the second week, students from across the planet had joined the movement. On other school networks, students posted pictures of themselves eating outside in support of the Lunch Table Rebellion. Some held signs that said, "All blood is equal," or "No one eats alone." In Varel High Academy, the outside lunch space had become full. Even some teachers sat near the students, sharing stories or just listening. A group of parents brought meals from home and placed them on tables for everyone to enjoy. For Riva, the change felt like a dream. Every day she saw new faces. People who had never spoken to her before now greeted her with smiles. Some said sorry for not standing up earlier. Others shared their own struggles. Still, Riva stayed quiet most of the time. She wasn't used to being seen. But she kept coming back, always sitting on the same bench, always bringing something to share. Tom sat beside her every day. He didn't act like a leader, but everyone looked at him like one. He listened more than he spoke. He never told others what to do. He just did what he believed was right, and others followed. But not everyone was happy. At the council building in the city center, the old leaders watched the movement grow. Some of them had children at the academy. Others were connected to families that had long protected the old traditions. They feared what was happening. "This is not a protest," one counselor said in a meeting. "It is a threat to our culture." "They eat lunch," another replied. "Is that a threat?" "It's what follows next," the first one answered. "If we do nothing, they will begin to question everything." That night, the council sent a message to all schools under their rule, to all educational centers. Effective immediately, public meals outside of approved dining areas are banned. Any group gathering for meals outside school buildings is now considered an act of disorder. Failure to follow this rule may result in removal from school property. The message arrived early in the morning. By the time students reached the academy, guards were already standing near the entrances. The outside lunch space was blocked with yellow signs. The bench where Riva always sat had been removed. The students stood in silence. No one knew what to do. Tom looked at Riva. Her eyes were on the empty spot where the bench had once stood. She said nothing, but her fingers tightened around the strap of her bag. Loro stepped forward. "They think we'll stop. They think this scares us." Tom nodded. "It only proves we were right." That afternoon, Tom received a notice from the school office. He had been called to appear before the school board. His host family was told that his actions were harmful to peace and unity. If he did not change his behavior, he would be sent back to Earth. At the board meeting, Tom stood alone in front of 5 members in black robes. One of them read the list of complaints against him. "You have challenged local tradition," said the woman at the center. "You have caused unrest among students. You have damaged the academy's name." Tom stayed quiet until she was finished. Then he spoke. "I didn't damage the name of this school," he said. "You did that by letting people suffer in silence." Another board member leaned forward. "You are a guest here, young man. Do not forget that." Tom replied, "I am also a student. I have the same right to learn as anyone else, and I won't stay silent just to make others comfortable," the board whispered among themselves. The final decision was delayed. Tom was told to stay at home until further notice. When the students found out, they were angry. Riva stood alone, in the hallway, holding the printed letter they had given Tom. She looked around at the crowd. "I need to speak," she said, her voice soft but clear. Loro stepped forward. "Then we'll listen." Riva took a deep breath. "For years, I ate alone. I thought that was my place. I thought maybe I deserved it. But I was wrong. No one deserves to be treated like they are nothing. She held up the letter. They want to silence him, but they can't silence all of us. The next morning, over 100 students refused to enter the dining hall. Instead, they sat on the floor outside the building, holding their meals in their laps. No one spoke. No one moved. The guards didn't act. The teachers didn't know what to do. Inside the staff room, Headmistress Velra shouted, "This has gone too far." Miss Jal replied calmly, "No, it's finally going far enough." Later that day, Riva and a small group of students recorded their own video. They posted it online. In the video, Riva said, "They told him to stop sitting beside me. They told me to stay outside. But now we sit together. Not because we are the same, but because we all matter." The video was shared across space stations and colonies. Even on Earth, people watched and left messages of support. Some asked if donations could help. Others simply wrote, "You are not alone." By the end of the week, something unexpected happened. A message came from Earth's education ambassador to Varel. He asked for a meeting with the council to discuss student rights, fairness in education, and respect across cultures. It was the first time in history that Earth had questioned Varel's school policies. The council was not pleased. But the world was watching now. Tom was still under review, but he remained calm at home. His host family stood by him. They received messages from strangers, from students, even from parents. And every day, Riva still sat outside during lunch, even without the bench. She sat on the ground with her tray and waited. And every day, more people joined her. Because now, the silence had become a voice. And it was only getting louder. The days passed slowly, but with growing strength. The quiet rebellion had grown into something bigger than anyone expected. Students from Varel High Academy and many other schools had started to stand up. They refused to accept the old ways that treated some people like they were less. They demanded change. They demanded respect. Riva sat on the ground near the school's empty lunch area. She looked tired but hopeful. Around her, students gathered quietly. They shared food, stories, and smiles. Tom was not there that day. He was still waiting for the school's final decision about his future. But his spirit was felt by all. One boy named Loro stood and spoke. His voice was strong but calm. "We have waited long enough. For years, the children like Riva have suffered in silence. It is time to rise." A group of younger students from another school had sent a message of support. They called themselves the New Voices. They promised to keep the movement alive. The news spread across the planet and beyond. Holoscreens in city centers showed videos of peaceful protests and students sharing meals outside. Some adults were proud. Some were scared. Some were angry. At the council, the leaders felt pressure from all sides. They had to act, but they did not want to lose control. One council member named Karen spoke during a private meeting. "We must stop this now. If we don't, our traditions will be lost." Another council member replied, "But the children are united. This is not just about lunch. It is about respect. We must find a new way." Outside the council building, crowds had started to gather. They carried signs and banners, but their voices were quiet. It was a peaceful protest. Meanwhile, back at the academy, the students planned their next steps. Riva met with Loro and a small group of friends in a quiet room. They spoke about what they wanted to do next. "We cannot stop," Riva said. "We need to show them who we are. We need to show them we belong." Loro nodded. "Let's organize a peaceful march. We will walk through the city and show the world that we stand together." The group agreed. They made plans carefully. They wanted to avoid violence and keep their message clear. The day of the march arrived. Hundreds of students gathered in front of the school. They wore simple clothes and carried homemade signs. Riva walked at the front, holding a small flag with two colors, purple and green, representing both her heritages. Tom was there too. He had been allowed to return to school while his case was still open. He stood beside Riva with quiet strength. As they walked through the city streets, people watched. Some cheered quietly, some crossed the street to avoid them, but most just stopped and looked. News crews arrived. They recorded the march and asked questions. One reporter asked Riva, "What do you want people to understand?" Riva looked at the camera and smiled softly. "I want them to see me. Not my blood, not my past, just me." At the city hall, the group stopped. They stood quietly for several minutes, holding their signs high. Then, a voice came from the crowd. It was a teacher named Miss Jale. "We teach children to respect each other. We teach kindness. Now, it is time to live those lessons." Her words echoed through the square. Later that day, a meeting was called between student leaders and the council representatives. The students spoke with honesty and courage. They shared their stories and asked for respect and fairness. The council listened. Some members were moved, others were still unsure, but the meeting ended with a promise. The council would consider new rules to protect all students. That evening, Riva sat with Tom and Loro. She looked tired but happy. "We are making a difference," she said. Tom smiled. "Yes, we are." The movement had changed many hearts. It was no longer just about lunch. It was about a future where everyone could belong. And for the first time, Riva dreamed of a day when she could eat inside with others. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. The city was quiet in the early morning light. But inside the council building, tension filled the air like a storm waiting to break. The leaders of Virel had gathered again. This time, their faces were harder. The peaceful protests and growing support for the students had shaken their control. Some feared losing everything they had protected for generations. Head Counselor Velron stood up, his voice cold and sharp. "This rebellion threatens our way of life. We must end it before it spreads further." Another council member added, "The students' actions disrespect our traditions. If we allow this to continue, more will follow." Velron looked down at the reports on his desk. They showed images of students eating outside, marching through the streets, and speaking out on holoscreens. The movement had grown beyond the city. It had become a symbol. "We will take action," Velron said firmly. "The rules must be enforced. The outside meals ban will be strictly applied. Those who disobey will face removal from school. Those who encourage others will face harsher penalties." A younger council member spoke up. "But what about the ambassador from Earth? They have asked for a meeting. They want to discuss fairness in education." Velron sneered. "We will show them our strength, not our weakness. This is our planet, our laws." That same day, students arrived at the academy to find guards stationed at every entrance. The outside lunch area was closed with tall barriers. Cameras monitored the space day and night. Riva felt the weight of the change. The place she had called safe was now a prison. Tom was still under home suspension. He watched the news reports closely. His heart ached for the students who had no choice but to follow the new rules. But the students did not give up. During a secret meeting in a small room, Riva and her friends planned again. "We must be careful," Loro said, "but we can find ways to keep our voices heard." Riva nodded. "We will not stop. We will show them respect and strength." That evening, Riva and Tom spoke by video link. Tom's face was tired but full of hope. "I heard the council is getting stronger," Riva said softly. "They are," Tom answered. "But so are we. People are watching. They know what is right." Riva smiled. "I believe that too." Days later, a new order came from the school. Any student caught eating outside without permission would face immediate suspension. Teachers were told to report anyone breaking the rule. The students knew the risk, but many still gathered quietly, hidden from the cameras. They shared food. In small groups, in empty classrooms, in quiet corners of the city, The council's actions sparked anger among parents and other citizens. Some wrote letters to the news, others spoke at community meetings. They demanded fairness and respect for all children. The Earth ambassador's visit was scheduled for the next week. Everyone waited to see what would happen. On the day of the meeting, Tom was allowed to attend as a student representative. He stood tall in the large council chamber, surrounded by the planet's most powerful leaders. The ambassador spoke first. Education should be a place where all children feel safe and respected. It is time to end these divisions. Velrun listened, but said little. When it was Tom's turn, he spoke with quiet strength. I am from Earth, but I am here to learn and to help. We all want the same thing, a future where no child is made to feel less. It is not weakness to change. It is courage. Some council members shifted uncomfortably. Others looked down. The meeting ended without a clear decision. But outside, the students and citizens waited with hope. Later that night, Riva sat by the window. The city lights twinkled far below. She thought about how far they had come. The fight was not over. The road was still hard. But she believed in the power of people, in the power of kindness, and she knew that one day the rules would change. The sun rose slowly over the city of Varel, casting soft light over the towers and streets. The day was quiet, but something important was about to happen. For months, the students' voices had grown louder. They had stood together, shared meals, and asked for respect. Their courage had inspired many. Now the leaders of Varel could no longer ignore them. Inside the Grand Council building, a meeting took place that would change history. Riva sat quietly in the gallery watching. Beside her, Tom and Laura waited with calm faces. This was the moment they had hoped for. The council members entered one by one, their faces serious. The room was filled with tension. The head counselor Velrun stood and spoke first. We have listened to your voices and seen the strength of your unity, he said slowly. It is clear that the old rules no longer serve the future we want for our people. A murmur spread through the room. Velrun continued. Today, we will make a new decision, one that respects all students, no matter their heritage. He looked toward Riva and the others. We are appointing new members to the council, including those who come from mixed backgrounds. Their voices will help guide us to a better future. The crowd in the gallery clapped quietly. Riva's heart beat fast. This was more than she had dared to hope. After the meeting, the headmistress of Virel High Academy made an announcement. All students will now be allowed to eat together in the dining hall, she said. No one will be forced to eat alone. The bench outside will be returned, and new spaces will be created to welcome everyone. Outside the school, students cheered. Some hugged, some cried. The air was filled with hope. Riva walked into the dining hall for the first time in years. She carried her tray carefully, her hands shaking a little. Tom waved at her from a table near the center. She smiled and walked over. When she sat down, no one moved away. No one whispered. No one stared. Instead, a boy named Jalen smiled and said, Welcome. Riva looked around. The room was full of color and light. It was not perfect, but it was new. Later that day, a message arrived from the Earth ambassador. He congratulated the students and leaders for their courage and wisdom. Riva read the message aloud to her friends. Change is never easy, she said, but it is always worth it. Tom nodded. This is only the beginning. That night, under the stars, Riva and Tom walked outside the school. They stopped at the bench where it all began. The wind was soft and warm. Riva sat down and smiled. Thank you, she said quietly. Tom sat beside her. No, thank you. You taught me what true courage is. They looked up at the sky, full of stars and possibility. The future was bright, and it belonged to everyone.